Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And can you hear me properly? Sorry about last week. There were two videos that I recorded last weekend with my new wireless microphone system where I accidentally only had the left channel recording, or my voice was only going into the left audio channel. I didn't realize, since it's a wireless transmitter and there are two receivers, that it was out of the box set up to separate the two channels as if you were recording two separate audio channels with one receiver, recording one audio channel with one with the other. And I didn't realize you had to try to merge them together. I'm looking now and I'm seeing both left and right, I think, on the screen as I'm recording this, so hopefully that issue has been fixed. Sorry about that. We're gonna get into that a little bit more, I guess, because several people were asking about that. But we have a very good show this week. We have finally gotten some things that I've been waiting for forever to show you on the channel. So let's talk about the things that you can expect on this week's Sunday Stuff and Things. We're gonna talk about upcoming videos. Those things that I've been waiting to review have finally arrived, as I just mentioned, so I'm gonna show you those things. I think the upcoming video section of this show is probably gonna be the largest segment. I'm gonna talk about, last week we mentioned the fitness, the things that I've been doing to try to stay fit in my advanced age, and talk a little bit more about that this week, because people were asking me some questions. Gonna talk about some crazy squirrels, some things that have been going on around the property. And then of course we have lots of feedback and good questions from you that we're gonna get to in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get to the biggest part of the show, upcoming videos. All right, so I've been talking about some of these things for weeks now, maybe even months, and they're finally all arriving, and I'm getting ready to do some reviews for you. Number one, the thing that you can look forward to this week will be a box opening. And this is going to be of the German notebook system that I've been waiting for a very long time. Could it be the Midori killer? I think maybe it will be for me. I mean, it's a little too early to tell, but it is here. It is the Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter. I think I'm pronouncing that perfectly. This is a notebook system from Roterfaden in Germany, and it is a leather notebook cover. The cool thing about this, though, I've got this little elastic band here. Inside, it's similar to a Midori, where you can put inserts into your notebook. This is just something I was trying out. But the difference here, you can see there's an insert in here. There are these metal clips. And this particular model has 3 different metal clips. Let me just show you this real quick. So you've got these clips, and you can use these to place inserts into the notebook. And then they clip down on the spine, and then it just works really well. It's super quick, it's super flexible. I really like it. I think I'm gonna like this a lot. And I'm gonna have the box opening and just me sort of experimenting with it, seeing what I think of it. Obviously the full review is going to wait until I've had a chance to use this for several weeks, maybe even a month or two. And I just want to see how everything holds up. The clips, they seem fairly strong, but I already kind of bent one. I bent it bent back just fine. But I just want to see how that holds up, how all the stitching holds up and everything, and how it is to actually use this on a day-to-day basis, because this is what I'm going to use for now. I'm going to transfer all the stuff from my Midoris, or not transfer the actual inserts, but just the usage that I got out of my full-size Midori and passport-size Midori. I'm going to transfer all of that over to this Roterfaden, and I'm going to see how it goes for the next few weeks. So the box opening video will be this Wednesday, and then stay tuned a couple weeks or so after that for the full review of the Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter. Perfect pronunciation. After that, we have something very cool, something that I've been looking forward to for a while. This is a Bark River Ultralite Bushcrafter knife. Really cool American company, Bark River. They're located in Michigan. Yes, Michigan, I think. They make these sort of semi-custom knives where they're not like a large production facility. They do a lot of hand finishing and everything. I was really interested in their knives for a long time. I wanted a smaller fixed blade that I could carry around with me on a daily basis, both to work and then also when I'm not at work. This is kind of right on the limit of size that I would carry with me on a day-to-day basis, you know, in civilian life. I mean, I'm always in civilian life, but when you're working, when you're dressed in construction gear, I could probably have a larger knife on my hip and nobody would bat an eye. But when you're wearing skinny jeans and looking kind of like a hipster, if you have a giant blade on your hip, the legality in Washington State is kind of vague. Technically, you're allowed to have any length fixed blade if it's open carry, but in reality, I think you could get into some trouble for that, especially if there's anyone who is alarmed by the sight of it. You're not allowed to have not allowed to have any fixed blade knife concealed, but open carry with a blade like this, it's under 3.5 inches. Let me actually show it to you. Beautiful knife. It's under 3.5 inches. I think it's like 3.37 inches is the blade length. Even in Seattle, I think this is legal, because I think they have a law, anything over 3.5 inches is illegal. But this is a really beautiful knife. It has these desert ironwood handle scales that I think just look gorgeous. There are black liners under the handles. The steel is a CPM 3V, so it's a powdered super steel. Supposedly really strong, good edge retention. I did a little bit of preliminary sharpening on this. It was pretty sharp out of the box. It would cut paper really easily, but it wouldn't shave. Doesn't need to shave, but I like my knives to be able to shave. So I tried to just strop it first, and I think the steel is so hard, and I'm used to 1095, just high carbon steel. It wouldn't really take the strop as easily as I thought it would, and so then I got some water stones out, and I used a 1500 grit and then a 5000 finishing grit, and now it's very sharp. And then I stropped it after that. I mean, I'm not gonna shave all my hair off. Well, I guess I am gonna shave all my hair off. You can't really see that, I'm sure, but it shaves, oh boy. It shaves quite easily now. It's just a gorgeous blade. And I talked about when I first got this, I got another knife that I sent back actually, because these are hand finished, they're hand ground. I think they get the blanks sent to them and then they hand finish them and grind them themselves and sharpen and everything. And the one I got had these little divots out of the side of the spine. And I did not like that. I wanted it to look a little better than that. And so I contacted the people at DLT Trading where I got this from. And they said, well, you know, it's a hand-finished knife, so we don't really consider that a defect. We'll take it back. We're perfectly happy to take it back. And if you want to exchange it. And I asked them, so how common is an issue like this? And they said that it was fairly common, that you would have some variations like that. I don't know how I feel about that. I really love this knife. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I've been using it now for about a week. And I think it's fantastic. I'm a little worried about ordering Bark River in the future. If it's something that doesn't affect the use of the knife, then I don't really care. It was just something I didn't like. I didn't think I'd be able to live with it. This has really clean lines. The grind is really even. Everything looks good. There's really nice finishing from the wood to the metal of the tang. The pins are nice and flush. So this seems absolutely perfect to me. And I guess you can't necessarily expect perfection with every Bark River knife, but 50-50, I guess, maybe it's a little bit better than that. But my first one I sent back, this one is fantastic. And I'm gonna be doing a review of this soon. I like the sheath too. I didn't think I would. I was actually gonna order a custom sheath from JRE Enterprises, but I ended up really enjoying this sheath. I think it's a really nice, functional, good sheath. You can mount it vertically. You can also mount it horizontally if you want. All in all, I'm really impressed. So you can look forward to a full review of the Bark River Ultralite Bushcrafter coming up on the channel soon as well. And then, of course, our series on Kevin the Kurt in Elden Ring. I guess it's our series on Elden Ring, starring Kevin the Kurt, is continuing on Stuff and Things Plays, and each time I get surprised by this game, I'm like, wow, I can't imagine it getting any more exciting or crazy or wild than this. And then a few episodes later, something equally or even more insane and wild happens in this game. It's just so huge, it's so expansive, it's so good. Check the series out. And then of course we'll have some more pipe blends coming up as well. I'm kind of going through something that I want to do next, have a couple candidates for a cool blend for a first impression and final review. So, Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter, box opening this week. Soonish, Bark River, Ultralite Bushcrafter in CPM 3V with desert ironwood handles coming up. Then the full review of this, pipe blends intermixed in there, just lots of good stuff. Please watch them. All right, so last week I posted a rather embarrassing picture on Instagram of me when I was 26 and then me at my current age in my early to mid 40s, showing that my fitness is much better now than it was in my early 20s. I wasn't fat in my 20s, I was just really skinny. And now I'm in much better shape. And we had a discussion about that kind of fallacy that people seem to buy into all the time, where once you hit a certain age, then fitness is just unattainable. You can't be in good shape anymore. And obviously there are all sorts of extraneous things that could be affecting your ability to be fit, but in general, I think it's perfectly possible for someone to maintain a good level of fitness. And people were asking me kind of the things that I'm doing, how often I'm exercising, and I don't want to turn this channel into a fitness channel. But one thing I have started doing recently, and I never thought I would be one of these people, is I've been taking protein shakes recently. So you got these little protein shakers. You put your powder in there. I take mine with milk. You close it up, you shake it up, and you drink your protein. I started doing that because my fiance is mostly vegetarian, and so I don't get a lot of protein. She cooks a lot, and she cooks really great meals, but I don't get as much protein as I used to get back when I was single, because I ate a very high protein, low carb diet back then. And so I thought, well, maybe this is a good way to up my protein intake, help build a little bit more muscle, lean muscle. But there are some dangers involved in increasing your protein intake to that extent. First of all, if you are not really active and pushing your muscles, then it's kind of pointless to be having a bunch of extra protein and the calories. You might just gain weight, but not necessarily muscle. That's number one. Number two, you have to worry about water intake a little bit more, because as you are taking this increased protein, your body is going to be retaining a lot more moisture, and you can get dehydrated more easily. You will also find that you sweat a lot more. I've never been a big sweater, which is a big sweater. I've never sweat a lot, and that's always been kind of a nice thing, I think, because I don't get particularly smelly or anything like that, and I'm not the kind of person who will just be pouring with sweat. I'll maybe glisten a little bit if I've been working out really hard. But ever since I started taking protein, I am sweating like a pig. And it's kind of annoying, but I guess that's just part of it. Your muscles are taking in that moisture, and then you're getting an increased production of sweat, basically, because of the protein. The biggest danger, though, is with the protein shaker itself. The other day, after a strenuous workout, I was shirtless, looking amazing, walked into the kitchen, filled up my little protein shake with milk, my protein powder, popped the top on, thought that this had been clipped down tightly like that, but it had not. It was like that. And I just started shaking it as hard as I could, and you would not believe the mayhem that resulted. It was as though a chocolate bomb had exploded in the kitchen. I had milk and chocolate powder all over my face, all over my body. It was all over the kitchen, like every wall, all up in the stove and in the burners on the stove, behind the microwave, under the fridge, like everywhere. Literally, like a bomb had just exploded in the kitchen. So I was like, started shaking everywhere, just sitting there dripping with all this crap. It was ridiculous. And I yelled for my fiance, "Do not come out here. Do not come out here." And then I basically had to like clean myself out of the situation. I was able to reach the paper towels and I got some like spray cleaner and I just started like cleaning myself and then slowly an expanding circle around me until I could move because I couldn't walk around because I'd just be tracking chocolate everywhere. So protein shakes, they can be dangerous. Okay, and briefly, just another little thing. We're going long already because that upcoming video section went so long. I don't know if this is universal, I think it is, but this time of year, squirrels seem to go absolutely insane. And we have a lot of squirrels around our area. And there's one in particular, this giant squirrel. He's probably about this big. He's freaking huge. And he likes to come to our kitchen window and climb up on the screen and just stare at us when we're in the kitchen. And he'll just be there. Eyes wide, tail sort of twitching. And then I'm like, hey, get out of here. And he just goes, and he won't move. I'll push against the screen and be like, get out of here. And he just stares. He's a maniac, he's a weirdo. I've got a brief little clip of him I'm gonna show you in a minute. I didn't actually catch him on the window. But then recently, all the squirrels have just been going insane in the yard. They sound like a troop of monkeys or something, just like running around all over, and I can't tell if they're fighting or they're playing or what's going on, but there's just this constant game of chase going on in all the trees up above. Let me show you some clips of crazy squirrels. What are you guys doing? God, that's a big squirrel. You are not even remotely intimidated. All right, man, it's like the size of a small cat. What are you doing, you maniac? Jeez. What are you doing? So this is what's been going on in our yard for several days now. If you go out there, they'll be freaking out in the trees above you. Leaf litter will be falling down. Sometimes they drop down and they'll be like a foot away from you. I had one actually run up my leg and then jump onto the bushes behind me. I'm just like, okay, this is your world, squirrels. You just do your thing. Hopefully they calm down a little bit, but it's been pretty entertaining. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings, and that is where you can submit your questions and or feedback. You can tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings. You can write to me via Patreon. You'll go to the front of the list. You can also leave comments on YouTube videos. I read through every single one of those. I don't respond to all of them, but I try to respond to a good amount, and then I pick out questions and feedback from the YouTube comments. So first, via YouTube, we have a question from Joshua Smith. Joshua says, I feel really encouraged by your comments on fitness, so thanks. I'm curious, what kind of work would you do if not construction? Thanks, Bradley. I don't know, I'd probably do something involving some of the hobbies that I enjoy. I like, obviously, you know, film production, video production, photography, music, all sorts of stuff like that. If I could find something within that realm that would actually support me, and my fiance, then that would be great, but construction's cool too. Next from Chris Z. I recall that in another video you mentioned that your job is so physically demanding that a temp staff you hired could not perform it for a whole day. How much do you think your work contributes to your fitness? Doesn't make it any less inspiring, just curious. It contributes a good amount. It's interesting though, you'll see this a lot with construction people where they don't necessarily seem like they're like in amazing shape, and you would think, oh, they're outside all day, they're moving around all the time, why aren't they in better shape? And some are, obviously, some aren't. I think with me, before I actually added workouts in addition to just having a physically demanding job, I mean, you saw how I looked when I was 26. That's when I wasn't really working out. I think at that time I wasn't doing construction, and that was just kind of my natural state, was just skinny. When I was working construction but not doing extra workouts, I was just thin and I was wiry. Like you would still say I was strong, but I didn't look very strong. I just had that kind of ropey, wiry strength going on. So I think my job helps me stay thin, but it doesn't necessarily help build muscle, because the kind of muscle you get from doing construction work is more of the endurance sort of muscle. You don't really bulk up. You're able to do things for a long time. You're able to put up with pain and discomfort, but it wasn't until I started doing extra workouts, like all the push-ups and crunches and dumbbells and all that stuff, that I actually started getting a little more bulk. Not that I'm bulky anyway, but more than I was. So it helps, but it's not enough. You have to do a bit more. Next from Scott Free. Which is better, Xbox or PlayStation? Well, that's a can of worms. I don't know. I have a PlayStation 5 thanks to the amazing generosity of our good friend Jason Buckner. I don't really have any interest in an Xbox this generation, but I don't know that I would have the PS5 yet if it weren't for a cool subscriber wanting me to play Demon's Souls. During the Xbox 360 generation, I had the 360. During the PS4 generation, or the Xbox One PS4 generation, I had a PlayStation. This generation, I have a PlayStation 5. I don't know. It's still weird because even though the systems have been out for a while, there aren't a ton of really good exclusives for each system yet. So I don't know. I tend to gravitate more towards PlayStation right now just because FromSoft seems to be more into PlayStation. But that could change in the future. I think you'd be happy with either. Next, we have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from Nigel Lamb. Hi, Bradley. I hear your voice through the left channel only. The interesting content compensated for the silence in my right ear. And then Sug Nuke. What happened to the audio? So I think I've addressed that at the top of the show, and it looks like we are still recording into both audio channels. So hopefully this will not happen in the future. And I have the freedom now of no cord, no cables. I mean, there's a cable connecting me to my little transmitter here, but it's nice, very nice. Next, from Simon Brown, this feedback about the Fit Over 40 video last week. I turned 40 this year. I've always been fit, but now I'm fitter than ever. I think the mental toughness and self-discipline you develop as you grow older helps counter any limits of the aging body. Stay strong, my friend. I agree, and obviously this is up to a certain point. I know that, you know, when you're 80, you're probably not going to be super strong doing a bunch of push-ups or anything, but my whole point of that video was that you don't need to give up. Like, oh, I'm 40, it's over now. Just keep going. You could probably maintain a really good level of fitness well into your advanced age. Next from Gordy. I've been hearing that age fitness myth forever, that whole thing of, oh, wait till you're 30, wait till you're 35. I'm 29, 6 feet, 160 pounds, and everyone assures me that I'll start falling apart in my 30s. Like you, I have a physical outdoor job. I run 20 to 40 miles per week, wow, and work out when I can. Overall, I think being constantly active is the key to a healthy lifestyle. Heck, I know a gentleman that ran a half marathon at 82. He's fit as a fiddle and loving life. Yeah, just make it your lifestyle. Don't make it, never diet, because having a diet is setting yourself up for failure. What you need is a lifestyle of eating a moderate amount and a healthy kind of food. Same with exercise. If you have this regimen that you have to force yourself to complete, you have to get to the point where it is not, where it becomes lifestyle and habit. And then once it's part of your lifestyle, then your day won't seem complete until you've done those things. Eating healthily, exercising. Next, Pipe in California. The story about people telling you to just wait until you're X years old. Same experience here. I think people just need to feel better for themselves by putting others down or making excuses. Possibly that. Yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit of that sometimes. I used to have this thing where several times people of larger girth would tell me how skinny I am and like, oh man, you're unhealthily skinny. You're so, way too skinny. And I would never really say it, but in my mind I'm thinking, well, no, actually I think I'm fine, and you're probably overweight and you're trying to make yourself feel better about the fact that you're overweight by saying that this person who is thin is unhealthy. So I know that happens. Next, from Z8. I agree about the being in shape into old age. I was always very fit when I was younger, and then a few years ago let myself go a bit. But now in my 30s, I've just been making sure I burn more calories than I eat, and I'm working out a couple of days a week, and I'm bouncing back pretty well. I'm sure it gets harder to bounce back the older you get, but it's crazy how many people just check out in their 40s and 50s, as if their life is already over with. But in doing so, they massively shorten their lifespan and make the end of it very uncomfortable. I think in the modern world, humans have this strange disconnect between their mind and body, where they think their mind will always be what it is despite the shape of the body. And that's just not true. The better you take care of the body, the better the mind is. I would agree with that. I think there is much more of a mind-body connection than people think, and that a healthy body will contribute to a healthy mind. And lastly, from Thomas Webb, I really appreciate your fit over 40 commentary. 46 and pretty jacked over here, although not as lean as I used to be. I could never duplicate my sprint speed from college or my long distance speed from my mid-20s, so I kind of fell into the concept that I can't be as fit anymore. But it's not true. It's just not as specialized a kind of fitness. I carry more muscle than ever and can work hard in horrible conditions and climb mountains way better than in my younger years. Yeah, I mean, I think you're not going to be as quick. You're not going to have that twitch muscle ability that you have when you're really young. But as far as endurance, there's something I call man strength, which maybe doesn't sound like it signifies anything, but you'll notice this, like a dude who's like 18 or 19 who may seem super strong and super fit. When I was in, my 30s and probably thinner than I am now, I could still probably out wrestle or out arm wrestle or whatever that person, just because I had years of repetitive, continuous use that had just built me into, I don't know, the ropey thing comes to mind again, where you have a strength and you have an ability to control your body more, maybe. And obviously this isn't universal. I think if somebody never did anything physical their whole lives, they wouldn't just suddenly develop this strength. But like sometimes a ropey 40-year-old dude would be able to outcompete in pure strength a more bulky, seemingly more fit 19-year-old dude. I call it man strength, where you have to be a mature man in order to harness this strength. I don't know, it's not scientific. But anyway, thanks everybody for your feedback and for your questions. Much appreciated. Please keep them coming in. Now gang, it's time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. Now more than ever, your support on Patreon is very, very much appreciated. Well, it's always been very much appreciated, but it's so helpful now with all the nonsense that's going on. Can't monetize any of our pipe videos or anything like that. It's just really, really cool to be able to help pay for the lights shining upon me, the camera that is filming this video, products like this for review, It's super helpful. So if you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below. You can also hit that super thanks button down below this video if you would like to contribute directly. And we much appreciate everyone who has done so. And we especially would like to shout out those who support the channels at $25 or more on Patreon every month. People like Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Gloria Phillips, MDoftheNorth, and Mr. Luxurious, David Gaudreau. And we'd also like to thank the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like Peter Straub, our good friend and award-winning author, Bob Magee, and Ashes of the Phoenix, rising from the ashes to support these channels. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you all so much for subscribing. That is super helpful. Liking, that is super helpful. Commenting on the videos, that is super helpful as well. Please stay tuned for the Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter box opening that is coming up this Wednesday. Also coming up soon, the Bark River Ultralite Bushcrafter review. We are going to be getting into a full review of the Taschenbegleiter. We have some other blends for first impressions and final reviews as well. Just lots of good stuff. And of course, Kevin the Kurt's adventures continuing on Stuff and Things Plays. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter. Taschenbegleiter.